Hey everybody, it's Cauliflower here. I am bringing you another Helix build for Battleborn. In this Helix build, we are focusing on the character Caldarius. The one thing you have to remember about Caldarius is that he is not an easy character to play at all. You really have to be on top of your game, but if you can start playing well as a Caldarius, you should be, I guess you should be sort of proud of yourself because it's not easy. There are very few Caldarius that I play with that are good, and I remember the names of every good Caldarius that I've ever played with just because they're so rare. That being said, if you really want to get good with him, you can, and once you get good with him, he can be a complete menace. But let's just go ahead and talk about Caldarius a little bit, and let's look at his character sheet. So on the left side here, you can see he's a mobile skirmisher and he's advanced. All those are completely true. He's one of the fastest characters in the game. Almost all of his skills give him extra mobility except for his flashbang. He's also got a double jump, which most people don't, and that double jump is super great for strafing. Caldarius can be super hard to hit, but then below where it says he's mobile, he's a skirmisher. That's just because he doesn't do huge damage. He's kind of like Tracer. You get in, do a little bit of damage, try and get a kill real quick, then you get right out of there. Because if they start focusing on you, you have low health, you're kind of an easy target because he's got wide, broad shoulders. He's kind of a thick character, so you really don't want to have the enemy focus on you. You just want to run through the enemy lines, do a bunch of damage, then get out. And then below that it says he's advanced, and that's kind of goes with the things above because he's a mobile skirmisher. Most people, when they play, they just want to run up to the enemy and start pounding out damage because that's easy. It doesn't take any thought. You can't do that as Caldarius, but let's go ahead and look at his skills. So one of Caldarius's passives is his gravitic manipulators. These are basically thrusters that allow him to double jump. So his second jump, it'll propel you in any direction that you want to. You just press that direction on your toggle as you hit the jump the second time, and you'll move in that direction. So it's ideal for strafing. Caldarius is the best strafing character in any game. He's far better than something like Tracer in Overwatch. He's a hell of a lot of fun to play. The one thing I really like about Battleborn is just how they put so many things together. Because with Caldarius, if you play Tracer on Overwatch, the one thing I'll warn you about switching over to Battleborn and trying to play Caldarius is Battleborn is a far more advanced game. If Overwatch is checkers, then Battleborn is chess. So if you're not really good as Tracer in Overwatch, you're probably going to have more trouble with Caldarius just because Battleborn is... It's a lot harder, and you got to know what you're doing, and if you're not good, you're not going to have a good time. But that being said, if you play a lot of Caldarius, you can get used to him, and you just got to do a lot of thinking as a Caldarius. But with those gravitic manipulators, you just want to basically strafe away from people and make sure not to get hit. And then below those gravitic manipulators is his TMP and energy blade. That's just his primary weapon and secondary weapon. His primary weapon it's like an SMG, basically. You shoot like, I think it's 20 shots to begin with. It doesn't do huge damage. It's not super accurate. It's best from up close. But like I said, he just gets in real quick, does a little bit of damage, gets out. His secondary attack is his energy blade. The reason this energy blade is very useful is because it wounds enemies. That wound is huge. So if you have an enemy weak and it looks like somebody's going to come over and heal him, you hit him with the energy blade, then the healing does nothing, so you're able to finish him off. So don't forget to wound enemies when they're weak or just to keep them from healing. Wound is one of the most important things in Battleborn, and if you're not paying attention to Caldarius's wound, you're not going to be playing as well and helping your team out as much. Below his primary and secondary attacks is just another one of those things that talks about his armor. There's nothing that has nothing to do with the gameplay. Below that is the gravitic burst. This is it does a little bit of damage, but basically it shoots you forward like 100 feet really quickly, so you want to use it defensively. So basically, as Caldarius, let's say you're in a battle, you start taking damage, you're at about half health, so you turn around, you hit gravitic burst, and then you dash so far away that nobody can shoot you anymore and you're safe. And then you figure out your next avenue of attack and you try and find your next opening. So that's really how you want to use gravitic burst. Below Gravitic Burst is Flashbang, and that is, it's a Flashbang. That's what it is. It does a bunch of damage and it blinds enemies. The one thing you have to remember is you blind enemy players for 1 second, but I think it's AI for 3 seconds. So the Flashbang is huge against minion waves. Again, and this goes back to why Battleborn is a lot more advanced than Overwatch. In Overwatch with Tracer, you don't have to worry about minions or anything like that. But as Caldarius, you need to use your flashbang on minions, because when you blind the enemy minion wave, your minion wave does a bunch of damage for free. So you really want to use that flashbang not only on enemy players, but on enemy minions. And when you use it on players, you want to use it when they are charging you. The reason why you use it when they start charging is because if they're charging you and you blind them, then they can't run forward blinded, otherwise they overextend. They can't really turn around because they don't know where they're going, and that's just why you want to use it when they charge. And that's as opposed to if they're running away. If you blind someone as they run away, it doesn't really matter because they're just running away, so they just have to keep running, and they don't need to see where they're going. But if they're doing an attack, they need to see where they're going. So if you hit enemy players, do it when they charge you. If you hit enemy minions, do it when your minion wave is attacking the enemy minion wave. And then finally is his ultimate. The ultimate is Aerial Assault, and this ultimate, it does a decent amount of area of effect damage. You really want to use it as a finishing move. So with Caldarius, a lot of times you'll get people weak and they'll realize they're going to die, so they'll try and run away. So then you use your ultimate, use that ultimate, get that kill, finish it off, and then work on other enemies. So that's the basic information about Caldarius. So let's go ahead and look at his Helix. Alright, so looking at Caldarius's Helix build, this first one on the left side, you can slow enemies that you hit with Gravitic Burst, or you can add bleed damage to your flashbang. You don't really want to use the left one, and that might be counterintuitive because slow is great for shooters, but you want to use Gravitic Burst as an escape. So if you're slowing enemies, that means you hit them with Gravitic Burst and you're using it offensively, and that's not really the way you want to do it. On the right side, the Blind and Blooded, you add 60 bleed damage to flashbang. It doesn't seem like much now, but later on you'll split the flashbang into 3 flashbangs, so then that bleed damage, it'll really start to add up. Now for level 2, on level 2, the left side, you can launch into the air after striking someone with Gravitic Bursts, and then on the right side, you can increase Energy Blade attack speed after using Gravitic Burst. And again, this comes down to the fact that you use Gravitic Burst as an escape route. So the one on the right, you would only want that if you use Gravitic Burst as an offensive move, but we don't use it offensively. Offensively, using Gravitic Burst is really not the way to go. So even though that 20% attack speed on the Energy Blade would be good, I would avoid that. The reason why I like the one on the left is because when you're escaping with Gravitic Burst, after you play a team for a while, if they realize that you're good, if you do Gravitic Burst out of there, they're going to try and block you in. So if you have an entire enemy team behind you when you use Gravitic Burst and you hit them, that will stop your Gravitic Burst. Now if you use the exit strategy on the left side, if you hit an enemy, it'll launch you into the air, and when you get launched into the air, you can use your double jump again. So then you'll get launched into the air above your enemies, use your double jump, and you'll fly over the top of them. So when you use the one on the left, it doesn't matter if you hit an enemy while you're trying to escape, you'll still be able to escape. So that's really the way that I like to do it. So level 3 now, this one, it's a very interesting level. All 3 of these you can make a good case for. I would argue against the left side one, the Afterburner. You don't really want to increase sprint speed with Caldarius because when you use the double jump, especially once you hit level 5, you'll be faster than people sprint. The double jump is the same speed as your sprint anyways, so you really don't want to spend a whole lot of time sprinting as Caldarius. Instead, you want to use your double jump. The center choice is the one that I like to use. I think most people probably don't, just because 20% lifesteal won't give you very much unless you use it on a minion wave, and I don't think most people blind the minion waves. So if you attack a minion wave without blinding them, this 20% lifesteal won't heal you enough to make up for the damage you're going to take by the minion wave. So you can only really heal yourself up if you blind the minion wave and then use your Energy Blade, but that's the way I like to do it, because if you get 200 or 300 healed from a minion wave, that's really all you need is Caldarius. He doesn't need a whole lot of health, and then I run him with health regen gear. So I always like to go with that energy transfusion, but then you could make a good case for the overdrive on the right side, just because Caldarius is already really fast, and if you give him an extra movement speed after using a skill, he's going to have an incredible amount of mobility, and he's going to be very hard to hit. So you could either use the center choice or the right choice. I would just avoid the left choice on level 3. Now, if we go to level 4, level 4, I always go to the left side and use Flash Barrage. There's only one downside to the Flash Barrage, and that is that it takes longer time to cast. And by that I just mean if you shoot 3 flashbangs, it takes longer to shoot 3 flashbangs than it takes to shoot 1. So you could make a case, I guess, for the Flash MIRV on the right side. Just because you only have to cast it once and it's cast real quickly. However, if you shoot 3 flashbangs, it's very easy to blind an enemy team and their minion wave, and they don't have to be in the same area because you shoot 1, 2, and then 3, so you can aim each one in completely different areas, and you can blind an entire enemy team, and that's just a great thing to do. So I love doing the Flash Barrage. And then the other thing about the Flash Barrage is it does a lot more damage than any of the other choices, and I like to use that flashbang as, so you can use it sometimes as sort of a finishing move, but I like to have a lot of damage on that flashbang just because Caldarius doesn't do a huge amount of damage anyways. The center choice rangefinder, I never use that because you want to use flashbang in close quarters, because when you blind an enemy, they're not blinded for that long, and you have to take advantage of that. If you use it from long range, you can't take advantage of them being blinded. The right side, it's a decent choice. I always try and avoid it just because I really love the Flash Barrage. You can make a case for it. You can try it out yourself, this Flash MIRV. The main advantage of it is that you only shoot 1 grenade, so it's a real quick skill, and it'll allow you to use your TMP more, and that's the main way you do damage is Caldarius. But like I said, I like the left side, but you can make a case for the right side on level 4. If we go to level 5, this one, you really almost have to choose the right choice on this one. I'm not going to say you have to, I guess, just because there is one case you can make for Gravitic Ascent on the left side, and this choice makes you jump higher and fall slower. The one thing you can say about that is it'll allow you to jump on top of different ledges that other characters can't get to, and that can be very useful. However, because Caldarius is so hard to hit anyways and so mobile, I don't see why jumping up on top of a ledge that an enemy can't reach you at is any good, because they shouldn't be able to reach you very well if you're playing Caldarius the way he's supposed to be played anyways. And if you use the right side, increase the lateral thrust of gravitic manipulators, that means when you boost on your double jump, you'll go quicker than you did before, and you'll actually move quicker than other people can sprint. And so this means that Caldarius is almost impossible to kill by any melee character because they're too slow to ever catch up to him. And then if you have someone who can shoot at you, you're bouncing around in the air so quickly that it's almost impossible for them ever to land a hit. So I really love using the improved thrusters on level 5, and I think that's really what sets Caldarius apart. I think if you don't choose that one, you're going to have a lot of trouble, but I guess if you want to try it the other way, you can. Now, level 6. This one, you got a couple good options here. The one I would say you should not choose is Energy Cascade in the center. The reason being is because Gravity Burst or Gravitic Burst is used as an escape. So if you escape, you don't have anyone to shoot at. The only reason you would want to increase attack speed is if you use it offensively, and you really don't want to use Gravitic Burst offensively. You'll just end up getting yourself killed. On the left side, Kinetic Burst, reducing Gravitic Burst's cooldown. That gives you a lot more survivability. It allows you to engage enemies more often, because if you have Gravitic Burst, it's very hard for an enemy to kill you if you use it to dash out of there and escape to safety. Now the right side, the reduced flashbang cooldown, I really like this one just because flashbang is my favorite thing as Caldarius. You blind enemy players, you blind their minion waves, so I want to use flashbang basically as much as I can. So I like using the rapid dominance on level 6. Level 7 now, this one, both of these choices have merit. I don't use the energy blade attack of Caldarius very much. The one thing that would give you is increased lifesteal if you use the lifesteal choice from, I don't remember what level it was, maybe level 3 from above. That could really help it out. However, usually when I play Caldarius, I use Energy Blade sparingly. The only time I use it is to heal up on a minion wave, or if I have an enemy who's weak and I want to wound them. Otherwise, I basically focus on using the TMP. So on level 7, I always go to the right and increase his clip size by 8. The main thing that you get out of this is you get a lot more DPS just because you don't have to reload as often. Reloading sucks. But anyways, let's go to level 8 now. Level 8, again, and this is another one that just because you use Gravitic Burst defensively, I would never add damage to it. You don't want to hit people with Gravitic Burst, and if you are hitting them a lot, you're kind of playing them wrong. So I avoid Gravitic Amplifiers on the left, and I always increase the dash distance on the right, and that one's pretty self-explanatory. You dash farther so you can get back to safety when you're far or deeper in enemy lines. Now level 9. This one, there's a lot of good choices here. The left side's good, the center one's good. The right one has merit. I avoid it just because I feel like I'm a good enough player with Caldarius. I don't need the extra area of effect. The left side's great because you can hit a huge number of enemies, especially if you use the triple flashbang. So lowering the cooldown by half a second, you can easily lower it, 4 to 6 seconds just by hitting minion waves in enemy players, and that's a big cooldown. And if you stack that with a 20% cooldown from the level above, you can get a flashbang every few seconds, and that's great. The center choice increases the damage but decreases the area of effect. Flashbang's already got a pretty big area of effect, so I feel like lowering the area of effect can be good. You really have to know what you're doing and be kind of accurate with it if you use that choice. That's kind of the more advanced choice, I guess. Cluster Burst. I think Phase Bang, if you were really going to do, like, try to mathematically figure it out, Phase Bang's probably best, but you can make a good case for Cluster Burst, especially because Flashbang doesn't do, like, it does decent damage, but an extra 10% damage really helps put it over the top. And just because of the fact that Caldarius doesn't do huge damage, it can help to give him extra damage on that flashbang. And then the right side, the increased area of effect, that can be useful if you're not all that accurate with flashbang. So if you're a beginner, that might be a way to start out with it. But now level 10, the final level. This one is all about Caldarius' ultimate. I don't like any of these choices. The left side, what that one says is when you use aerial assault, to begin with, you'll fly up in the air and you'll hover, and you get to choose where you come down and crash into the ground at. But if you choose tuned actuation, when you fly up into the air, you're going to come slam down in the ground immediately, so you don't have that time hovering up in the air. It lowers the cooldown, so that's good. The only thing is it kind of makes it harder to hit enemies, and it limits you when you use your ultimate, so it's a double-edged sword. The center choice, it pushes enemies back when you use aerial assault. You can knock some enemies off the map or confuse them, but I don't think it really adds much to the ultimate. And then the right side, you can drop a grenade at Caldarius' feet when you use ultimate, so that'll damage enemies near you when you use your ultimate, but I don't really see that does very much either. So level 10, you can really choose whatever you want. I don't see any of them as offering very much in terms of increasing your effectiveness as Caldarius. So now let's go ahead and look at my gear as Caldarius. So for my gear, the first thing I have on him is just max rolled basic health regen at 14 health regen per second. I like using that just because he's got low health and he's got high mobility, so whenever you get a little bit weak, just get out of battle, and then the 14 health regen will heal you back up in, like a minute or so. He doesn't require that much healing, so I always like having health regen on him. If you have health regen on him and take the 20% lifesteal at, I think it was level 3 with Caldarius or something like that, but the 20% lifesteal on his energy blade, then you can play Caldarius without needing a healer, and that's always great. So the next thing that I have with Caldarius is his extra health gear. Caldarius has low health. Anyone who has low health, like a Caldarius, a Reyna, an Alani, a Thorn, a Miko, any of those characters, I like to put extra health on them because if you run into an Arendi or a Benedict, both Arendi and Benedict have skills that can do enough damage to kill you almost instantly. So I put on extra health just as a precaution to save me from Arendis, Benedicts, Thorns, people who have skills that do a lot of damage real quickly. And then finally for Caldarius, I've got an attack damage glove that does extra damage after killing a player or major enemy. I just do that just because I want to increase the damage on Caldarius's TMP. He doesn't do a huge amount of damage to begin with, so I like to just bump it up a little bit to help put him over the top. But anyways, that's the way I level him up. That's the gear I use with Caldarius. What you have to remember is use that double jump very defensively. Basically, if you have trouble using the double jump to avoid enemy fire, the problem you're probably facing is that you're not watching the enemy players. And but what I mean by that is you need to see where their eyes are looking. You can tell just by looking at the character who they're looking at. If they're not looking at you, don't strafe. Once they look at you, strafe. So pay attention to that. But basically with Caldarius, you just have to learn how to be very mobile and very hard to hit. But once you figure that out, then you can start learning how to do damage with him. But like I said, he's kind of an advanced character to play. You're going to have to play him for quite a long time before you master him. But once you do master him, it's really a lot of fun, and it's really satisfying knowing that you can crush people as a Caldarius when he's so hard to play.